What's up, Jess?
I'm not drunk, you're drunk. What? What's the question? What?
Who are you?
Where am
Where am I? Jinx. Perfect. Awesome. Welcome to Ready Player 2.
Ah,
your favorite podcast's favorite playthrough of video games on the internet, where we get
did I
drunk
mention
pretty
there's
early
beer?
on. Yeah,
There's
exactly.
beer. Lots of
There's
it.
beer. I like beer. What are you, Kavanaugh? I like beer. Woo!
I like beer. Woo!
Woo! All right. Merry
That bitch was
Christmas.
mouthy.
Oh man! So we are live.
That
from
was
the
probably
man
over the
cave.
top. That was over the top.
I am CraigMakk. You are.
Too soon.
You are.
Serious Jest.
Yes, you are, my friend. And we are live from the man cave. We are here.
And not drunk. We are not drunk.
We
We're
are
not
certainly
drunk.
not
Just
drunk.
keep
We are
repeating it.
most certainly not drunk.
We
But
did not start the show drunk.
We did not start the show drunk. We did not
Already
just do an
drunk.
episode where we just drank beers that were roughly in double digits of ABV. We certainly wouldn't do that because that would just be fucking bad decision making. That would be poor planning, and that would just be unprofessional. We don't do that kind of bullshit. We take this job seriously as internet
I can't see the
purveyors of
screen.
entertainment. Okay,
Oh,
well,
fuck.
Well, maybe we are in a bad place right now. He's gone
All
blind, my
right.
friends.
All right.
Well-
All right. I'm good now.
You okay? You sure?
Yeah.
I got like nervous for a minute because I wasn't 100% sure if that was a joke or not. And if you actually just went blind.
Not
I
a
was
joke,
like,
but I'm
man.
good now. Now I'm good.
Those are two separate things. Not a joke, hard comma, but now I'm good. Okay. Good. Okay, good to know. On that note, we are doing a side project from what you may know us from, live from the man cave. You may or may not know about that. You may only know about Ready Player 2, which is our playthroughs on the internet of different games together, where we get drunk and play video games versus when we get drunk and talk on the internet doing a podcast for live from the man cave. Long story short, common denominator is we get drunk. So, Jess, without any...
Jarunk, spelled
Yeah.
Jarunk.
Without any preamble, without further ado, because we could do this shit for like another 14 minutes before we eventually get to the part that is most important, I'm going to kick it right to you and let you tell everyone what the fuck are you drinking as your beer of the show?
Okay, real quick, I just want to say quick plugs before we
Yes.
forget. Lest we forget, I just typed these in the Discord. I mean, in
I
the
like
chat.
you said,
not the
lest we
Discord
forget.
chat.
Like you are a
Lest
proper
we
gentleman.
forget.
You are a
No,
proper,
I'm a proper
gentleman
fucking
tonight.
gentleman. Let me tell you, I'm a proper fucking gentleman. All right, so the podcast is called Live from the Man Cave. Just type
It
that
is.
in the chat for the Twitch. Check it out on any major podcast app, including iTunes and all your
I'm
favorite
going to go so far as to
like
say
podcast
just about
Reddit.
every podcast app. Not even the
Yep.
the minor
So
fucking
maybe
ones.
Spotify? Are we on Spotify yet?
We are not. We are not yet.
Not that's their fault. That's their
Yeah,
fault, and
that is.
one
They're
day they'll
being
decide
dicks
to
about it.
rise to greatness.
Yeah.
But www.livemancave.com is where you can go for all of our past episodes and shit. Well, you can get all the past
Exactly.
episodes and all the like Podcast Addict, iTunes, all that
Sir.
shit's on there too. But if you want to, go directly to the website, and we got movie reviews on there too, and there's a picture of my dick somewhere on the site. I'm not going
Weird.
to tell you that's an Easter egg. It's an
Okay.
Easter egg. Well, the ladies go for it; they like it.
Your dick is an
Or
Easter egg,
if you just want to aspire to something, you want a motivational poster. My dick's on the site, hidden somewhere as an Easter egg.
Oh,
Go
so what
find
you're
it.
saying is people are going to print out that picture and post it on their wall as a poster of like, I think
Exactly,
I can.
just
I think
like-
I can. I think
Yeah,
I
exactly.
can.
Just like smack it on the way out of the room, like I'm motivated for my day. You smack it, and you walk out.
Oh, the way like
You, like,
Jeter
butt your
used
head
to, when he
against
used to
it.
walk out of the tunnel, Jeter used to tap that
Right.
sign up on the wall that says
Right,
like,
right.
I'm the yogi sign. People are going to run out of their
Right.
room and tap your fucking
Right.
ball sack and penis.
Right.
Okay, I don't know if I co-sign on that
Metaphorically,
at all.
metaphorically.
I want to go
It's
on
only
record
metaphorical.
as saying, hey, I know it's not metaphorical anymore because you've put it out there that you want people to print that shit out and have them tap that penis on the way out of their room every day.
Tap that dick.
All right.
That's a hashtag.
That
That's
is-
going on a T-shirt.
Well, you know what? That's the first one I'm going to say.
Maybe not,
We need to
yeah.
maybe talk about that before we go
Yeah,
on
okay,
record as
all
saying
right,
that's
all
going
right.
to be a T-shirt.
Maybe it won't go on a T-shirt.
I've
Maybe that'll go in
I've
the.
agreed with every other T-shirt you've come up with, so I don't feel like
Maybe
I feel
that's
like
the one that goes
when I
in the
draw a
junk bin.
line, that should be a thing that we should be okay with. Tap that dick. It's not a t-shirt.
Oh!
It's not a fucking t-shirt.
It's so catchy, though.
I don't know. It's good. It is growing on me a little bit. Oh, fuck. Don't say that. We're talking about tap that
Fuck! Oh, fuck!
It's growing on me. Hashtag
What is going on?
The wheels are coming off, my friend.
Right. Yo, so by the way, real quick,
Yes.
again, another aside.
Yes.
I would like to say we do have a Discord chat. It is
Yes, we
very
do.
important. Very, very, very important that if you like any of the shit that we're talking right now and you want the ability to fucking banter with us, we like to banter and shit. I'm gonna go ahead and post it.
Banter, like you.
We like that banter.
Really, it's a hard band. Banter.
Banter. Join. I'm gonna put right here in our chat right now. Join our Discord motherfucking link. I'm gonna leave that motherfucking so you can just imagine it.
He is drunk.
I'm not drunk.
Amazing.
I ain't. All right. So here we go. Join our Discord link. That shit's in our chat right now. And shit.
Perfect.
And like,
Yes.
if you like what we're doing and shit, like after this, we might even be playing some Jackbox. I know Jim Sardonic's in on it. Robot rap battles. You would join this shit. It could be happening. You gotta join our Discord link. Join our Discord link,
That's how you find
and then
out
you can
about
hook up. Yeah, exactly. That's you get the Easter eggs,
Yes.
and by Easter eggs, I mean the two Easter eggs that are my ball sack. All right, and let me tell you about what I'm about to be switching to.
Yes.
And so, all right, so I am not a fan normally of this kind of beer.
Oh shit.
I am not a fan. I'm going to
Oh
preface
wait.
this.
Are you about to tell us what your beer of the show is?
Beer of the show, yes.
Okay.
I normally, if you tell me you're going to be serving me this kind of beer, I tell you, go fuck yourself. I don't really like it.
Okay.
All right? It is a sour blonde ale blend. I hate sour ales. I really do not like sour
this
ales.
is like weirdly out of character for you.
But this is the brand. The brewer is one that I love and trust. Can you guess who the brewer is, Craig? Who's one of my favorite brewers in the whole world? That we need to take a trip to their brewery, an official man cave trip to the
Dogfish
brewery.
Head?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Who is it?
Upstate New York. Upstate New York.
Oh, is this Omegong?
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
Cooperstown.
Yes.
And they make their Game of Thrones
Yes.
and beers, and
we
now they're
have
into the
talked
Royal
about quite a
Reserve
bit.
collection.
Yes.
Yes, and I don't know if you've had this one. This is the Queen of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yes, I have.
Sour blonde
Yes.
ale blend.
Yes.
I may have had this on one of the shows. Now I actually think, in my drunken stupor, I think it's
I
a
think
beer
you
for
did.
Cersei, who reminds us that everyone who isn't us is an enemy, an exquisite blend of sour ale and Belgian style. No, I had Mother of Dragons, I know that. I didn't think I had the Cersei one, the Queen of the Seven Kingdoms. But I don't know, fuck it, if I had it...
Maybe it's very possible that you talked about one relatively recently, and I said that I just had that one because I just had this one out that I had this like sometime between Thanksgiving and New Year's for the first time. So it's possible that I just said like, oh, I've had that. I've had the another new one they came out with. So maybe you have not had it. So
yeah, so 6.4% ABV, sour blonde ale blend. It's a beer for Cersei. It reminds us that everyone who isn't us is an enemy. It's an exquisite blend of sour ale and Belgian-style blonde ale. So when I popped it, it is like a refreshing kind of crisp smell.
Right.
The first thing I smell is like the Belgian-style blonde ale.
Right.
And the sour is kind of in the smell as well because it makes it more citrusy.
Right.
Of a smell. I kind of have hated these in the past because they kind of... It's like taking a fucking like supercharged lemon head and dropping it in the middle of my beer, and I'm like, ugh, like too like it's like bittery like. But Omegong does things very well, and if I'm not gonna hate it, this is gonna be one of the brewers that's gonna make me not hate it. So let me see.
Okay.
Okay, so coming off the heels of, I just had that 15.3% or whatever Goose Island Stout in the prior episode that we just did not too long ago. Yeah, this tastes very watery to me because this is like less than half of the significantly less than half of the ABV.
Right.
But I'm not hating this. I am not hating this. I'm not loving it either.
Whoa. Oh, but that's
I'm not.
Win
let me take another sip.
Huh?
Yeah, it's not overwhelming on the sour part. Like, a lot of these sour ones, it's like overly sour.
Right.
Well, I'm just like, ugh, like I don't. Is this fucking some kind of weird soda or or a beer, and this one's definitely more Belgian ale than it is the sour. So as far as sours go, if you can tell me drink a sour, I'd say, all right, give me one of those fucking Omegangs and let's do this shit.
Nice. All right. Well, that's legit. I mean, like I said, that's a pretty legit win for Omegang that they have gotten you to at least not be like, yo, this shit is fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, I'm not drinking this just going, let me just fucking stomach it. It's fucking beer. It's better than that to me.
Right.
So, like, this is obviously some quality shit of some kind of shit that I don't normally like, and I can drink it and be like, yeah, I don't mind this.
So let me ask you this. This is, if we go the, that we have talked about on the show, when we have introduced friends of ours to maybe some more, like, craft beers that when there's somebody who likes just Corona or Heineken, or when you introduce somebody like an IPA who doesn't really like IPAs, and that kind of, there's always that like gateway beer, right? There's that first like, hey, try, if you like Blue Moon, you're gonna love Allagash White, right? Like those kind of beers.
Right.
Do you think this could be your gateway to being interested
into
in
more into sours?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then that's a huge win already, right? I mean, because that's an interesting thing, because if you say you are somebody who already likes craft beers, so you're willing to try stuff, but you already know that you don't really love sours. If this is a beer for you that makes you interested in a sour beer, then this is a really good beer for somebody who's like kind of trying to figure out, hey, I've tried maybe a sour, but I'm not sure if I like them or not. Like, this is the way to go for it. Like, because this seems like,
absolutely.
It's not going to put you off. It's not going to turn you off to it. If anything, it's going to probably ease you into it, which is perfect. So that's cool. Nice, man. Well done. All right. Well,
how about on your end?
On my end, I am staying a little bit in my lane for tonight. I'm still, obviously, the man cave is very Christmased out, so I'm still in the midst of some of my Christmas beers and trying a little bit there. So we have talked on this podcast of this brewer. This is
did I ever tell you, by the way? I'm sorry. I'm just like a fucking. That just made me think. In one of my prior jobs, our code word for the word "fuck" was Christmas.
Really?
Ever tell you that?
That is.
Yeah. No, so it's like, "Are you trying to Christmas me over?" That's what we say to each other. Were you trying to Christmas me over? In the workplace, Christmas is the code word for fuck.
Seems like a bastardization of the term Christmas, since it's the most beautiful and amazing time of year, and you fuckers turned it into the word fuck.
Fucking is beautiful.
Yeah, but Christmas is for kids, and fucking is
not,
weirdo.
Now you made it weird. Way to make it weird, Craig.
I made it weird. You fucking turned it. That's like you being like, hey, did I ever tell you that our word for fucking is Sesame Street? Like, that's basically what you just did, you fucking weirdo. Anyway, so we have talked about on this podcast the brewery Bell's.
Elmo would make more sense. I'm sorry.
Good,
right,
good,
too soon?
good.
Too
well
soon?
done.
Right.
Nope, well done. Sorry. Well done. That's actually really good. So we've talked about the brewery Bell's Brewery.
Because Elmo's here to fuck.
We got it. Let me just finish with my beer of the show, please. Bell's
with
Brewery.
his little red penis. Sorry.
His red rocket. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh God!
Anyway, sorry.
Too far.
Sorry. Yeah, we've gone too far. Let's wrap this up so we can get this game going. So Bell's Brewery, who is known for making their Two-Hearted Ale, which is has been rated over time, has been rated as one of the best beers. Like that, people can get one of the best tasting beers. They have their they're well known for being in that lane, but they also make tons of different kinds of awesome seasonal beers and different.
A quick Google search showed me that Bell's Brewery actually has something called The Shifty, a Bell's Brewery podcast. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I'm going to start listening
fucking
to
podcast.
I'm
nice.
going to listen to that.
Sorry.
Maybe I'll stop doing our show and just listen to theirs, because they're probably
just
better.
Fucking listen to their shit.
But anyway,
I doubt that. We're fucking studs.
We are pros at this. So this one is what I'm having is so this is Comstock, Michigan. So this is Christmas Ale. This is Bell's Christmas Ale. It's an awesome label.
That's fuck ale.
It's fuck you dickhead. This one, Christmas Ale, their label is actually, it's great. It's a perfect Christmas ale label, just because it is literally just, it's written in old-timey, English, the Christmas Ale part. Then it just literally looks like it's a white snowbank with a Christmas tree that has just some yellow, like an old pine tree that has some yellow Christmas ornaments hanging on it, and you just see the sky behind it with some clouds in it. It just looks very reminiscent of like kind of a Christmas tree out in the wild. It's very cool. It's a cool label, and their description of this one is very simple. This traditional Scotch ale is rich and malty with notes of caramel and a warm finish, certain to make any occasion festive or at least a bit more bearable. Enjoy with the company of friends and family. And this one
That's dope.
yeah, it's awesome. This one has a shelf life.
You know that on their website, they have a fucking recipe for Christmas ale. Their Christmas ale cherry chocolate bread.
Really? That sounds delicious.
And they say supposedly you're supposed to pair this beer that you're drinking right now with roasted light meats, pork, turkey, root vegetables, parsnips, cauliflower, pecans, or Gruyere cheese. Or you could go sweet with pears, apples, butter, pecan ice cream. Or you could go the eccentric way with financier brown butter almond cake.
That sounds delicious.
It's fancy. You're drinking some fancy shit.
Everything you're saying just made me hungry. This one, so you had talked about in the last episode that you had a beer that is like shelfable for like 3 years or something like that. This one straight up says shelf life 4 years. This one says shelf life of 6 months. So this is one like you get it, you drink it. Like you buy this during the Christmas season.
Sounds more
it,
my way.
Awesome.
Because these motherfuckers trying to tell me to sit on a fucking beer and not drink it. I'm like, fuck you, asshole.
Like,
I'm drinking my beer.
Exactly. This one is
5 years. 5 years, it said.
This was packaged.
What kind of asshole waits 5 years to drink a beer? Fuck you.
More shots? More shots? He does that on the regular.
Fucking asshole. You drink your beer. You show that beer some respect and put your mouth on it.
Right. So this one says it was packaged on October 22nd of 2018, and the alcohol ABV on this one is 7.5%. So
nice.
This is a nice little solid beer to drink. I'm gonna crack this bad boy open right now and pour it, and we'll see what happens. Let's see what Bell says.
Tell me how it tastes, CraigMakk.
Let's get a little taste of this fuck ale. Oh God!
Somebody actually needs to. Now I really somehow Omegong needs to make a fuck beer.
All right, so this one.
It can go so many different ways too. Fuck beer.
This smells. I mean, it smells like caramel. That's the first thing.
Smells
you
like sex.
You smell caramel immediately. And
caramel and sex.
And caramel and sex. Yep.
One man tries to get through the podcast, while the other tries his hardest to derail him.
Derail every moment.
At all costs. At every turn.
Oh wow! This is fucking amazing. This is actually amazing. So this is very.
Does it taste like you're sucking a Christmas tree's dick?
Yeah, actually, that's pretty much it. Perfectly, you nailed it. So I don't think I have to describe it anymore. You've gotten it for us. So let's just dive into the next mission of this game. What are we on? Mission 8 right now? I feel exactly the way the name of this chapter says that I'm supposed to feel.
It's broken. Oh God! I almost spit the fucking beer out.
So we might as well dive in.
I love when we start the episode.
Because we are 18 minutes in. Let's give an overview real quick of what has happened. So Jeff, this one
nothing to add though, other than a Christmas tree's dick. Anything else? I don't want to shut down your taste buds.
Right. Awesome. So this one is a continuation.
No, really. The beer wise. Anything else to add? Otherwise.
No. Oh, you really want me to? No. So this one is.
Yeah, I don't want to cut that. I do want to hear about the beer. Like Jim says, like we joke about everything until it comes to beer, and then that shit has to be taken like a fucking scientific experiment.
Right. No. So
the process must be followed.
This one is, I mean, the description is literally, it is perfect. It's very malty, which is perfect for this time of year, right? Like a nice, like that malty kind of like, that kind of chocolatey malty flavor to it, or that dark malty flavor. It kind of coats your stomach, which is great, but it's not, because it's an ale.
I'm resisting making any jokes at this point. I'm resisting.
Totally fine. It's totally fine. Thank you. It is not dark and thick like a You ruined any ability for me to fucking say things.
Why, CraigMakk? Why?
I don't know why. I don't know. That it sounded in my head like it was a description of the beer, and you ruined it for me. I'm fucking broken. All right, so it's not dark like a stop.
Whoa!
Like a porter or a stout. So it's definitely like an ale, but it has that malty flavor to it, and it has that caramely kick to it. So it has like kind of that dessert flavor, which I enjoy, but it's light enough where you can enjoy these and not. Again, we've talked. One of my least favorite things is when I have a beer that, on the first or second taste, by the third it tastes like, oh, this just tastes like, it just tastes like a pie ground up into liquid, right? We're like, I don't want this anymore because it's too sweet. This is not too sweet. It's like just sweet enough, but this one definitely tastes more on the realm of being like a like an after dinner beer. Like this would be something that I'm going to be sipping on this because it's got enough of a kick. The flavor is pretty strong that it will it'll be more of like a, you know, like an aperitif, like an after dinner dessert drink than it would be just like a beer that I had, like the one I had in the last episode, that was more of one you could kind of just put down a little bit more sessionably. So I'm gonna enjoy this, but I'm going to enjoy this in a goblet and have a good time with it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So all right. So let's get into. All right. So again, if you this first time you're tuning into this Ready Player 2 episode, the way this goes down is we picked this game Detroit because it touches on enough real life issues that after the games are over, after each mission is over, we'll sit there and actually like kind of talk about like the grander issues, how this relates to life. Right. Like just use this basically to just talk some shit about and be drunk and shit. Right. Yeah. Have like so imagine. Yeah, so basically, like, you'll play through, like, 5 to 10 minutes of gameplay with us, and then basically sit down with us. Hopefully you're in chat live. If you're not on the back end, you can always, like, you know, jump in our Discord server. I already posted the link. But, you know, we can have conversations kind of about, like, what this shit makes us relate to in real life. As far as this particular story we're about to deal with now, we are dealing this. Wait, so Detroit deals.
Just because we say this on every episode, just so people know, the kind of layout has always been, Jess already played and beat this game. This is my first time through it. So the way we set it up is I'm playing through it. He is kind of along for the ride. He's commenting or listening.
I'm a
to
Sherpa.
Comment.
I'm the Sherpa here for Detroit.
He's the vomiting Sherpa that just kind of talks through it with me, or listens to me talk through it on my own.
Whisper in his ear with drunk vomit breath. I'm like, Craig, you must figure this part out.
Exactly. Right. And then what he does, more often than not, what you'll notice, he kind of comes up with ideas as I respond to things that are happening. He jots down notes to then bring up in the aftermath when we just kind of break down the episode. He says, so what did you think about this part, or what were your thoughts on this now having played through the chapter? So it's more of a, you know, somebody who has already seen the whole game to completion, he has the full scope, but he doesn't spoil things. He just kind of leads me in interesting directions to talk about interesting topics as they relate to the game, knowing where things are going to go. And then obviously the decisions I make today, he can then bring up in 3 episodes later, knowing, because he knows what's going to happen, say, so remember when you brought this up before, now what do you think about this or that or whatever. So that's just good for you guys to know that we have one person who's coming with a background to the game and another person who's coming in completely blind and doesn't know anything other than what I've played to this point. So I am representing of you if you've never played this game before, but if you've played it before, this game is also interesting for you because you can come with, you know, Jess being your analog, and he represents you as you already kind of know how it plays out, and you just want to hear us dialogue about it. You can see either aspect, right? So there might be some people that come in, I don't care so much about the playthrough because I already played through, I just want to hear them talk about it. And there's other people that are like, I want to see the playthrough because I never played the game before and I want to kind of see that playthrough. And so you can kind of get a benefit from either end of the spectrum. So that's just so you know where we are coming from. And then from there, I guess, Jess, why don't you just describe the chapter that we're about to jump into, unless you have anything to add.
No, so Detroit basically at this point in the storyline concerns 3 main characters. The one that we're going to deal with in this storyline in particular is Marcus. All right. So if you have never jumped in before, I encourage you to go back and listen to our earlier episodes. If you're watching this in retrospect, if you're not watching this live, and you're watching this on our YouTube account instead of the Twitch, then I say, hey, look, go back. We have some other episodes up, missions 1 through 7. I would watch those first. Now, realistically, though, as we said, the format is we play through the action, which is usually somewhere around 10 minutes of gameplay or something. And then we talk about it. We have extended discussions. Some of these like go on and on because they're like interesting conversations in their own right. But if you're like, look, I just want to get caught up, it's okay to go back and just watch the opening, like where we actually play through, which isn't that long on each one, and then get caught up that way. Now, if you're listening live and you want to comment live and all that shit, and you just need us to catch you up to where we are. So far, we're dealing with this character, Marcus. In the original scene, actually, the Mission 3 was the first time we saw Marcus in Shades of Color. He went to the store to pick up some paint for, his boss or his owner, right? He's an android. He went to pick up some paint, and then he ran into a mob of people that were pissed off and protesting because androids are taking their jobs. They roughed him up a little bit. Cops finally broke it up, saying he's property, and if they damage properties, they'll be forced to arrest him. Right. Next time we see him, he brings that paint back to his owner.
Not to cut you off, but full disclosure, that was probably my least favorite chapter. Was Mark's first chapter? Yeah, I mean, just because it was like, I mean, we made tons of jokes about the fact that one was like 90% me picking up paint. And then, and then 10% me engaging with like a racist, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool, I guess." But like, whatever. It was way more interesting the second part that you're about to talk about, like the chapter that took place next with him.
So he gets home.
Getting home, yeah.
Yeah, so he gets home to his fucking mansion. He basically, and it turns out his owner's like this fucking rich, famous artist who's also suffering from like health issues to the point where he can't really even. Get around himself. He's in a wheelchair. Marcus like helps him get up from the and then as you see their interactions, you quickly figure out that his owner doesn't really see himself so much as like a straight up owner. Like he's actually really nice to him. He tries to like teach him about things that androids aren't normally taught to, like to break past basic programming and think for himself is what he's trying to instill in him. The episode ends with them having this nice relationship, but then the guy's actual real-life biological son shows up, who I think is like hooked on drugs and is trying to get more money from his father, so he keep having his fucking drug problem. He's abusive to the android, Marcus, and then ends up like after like verbally like harassing the father and the android, ends up leaving and saying fucked up shit to his father, kind of saying like he's a shitty dad and the android will never replace the real son. And the owner, the father, feeling fucking pretty like embarrassed, ashamed, and sad that his son is like this, and especially in front of the android that he's been trying to teach so many things and be like a father figure or a mentor for.
Right.
And I think that brings us right to the point that we're about to experience right now, which is called
Broken. The way I feel about everything that's happened in this episode up to this point. The one thing I will say is it's probably interesting to you as the listener, or at least one of my most interesting parts of this episode was, or the most recent episode, I mean, of this kind of storyline, was our discussion. We got into a pretty deep and, to me, interesting conversation about, there was that moment with the chess match between Marcus and his owner, and we get pretty deep. We talked about like Deep Blue. We got into the like Deep Blue versus Kasparov actual battles of like man versus machine, and so we get pretty in depth into some of that stuff in a way that started some pretty interesting conversations of like what is the machines perspective on how to brute force victory versus kind of win through finesse and so on and so forth. And we had a pretty good discussion about what has already played out to this point in our current timeline versus obviously where they are at this this futuristic timeline in the game. So it's some cool stuff just to kind of set you up for. We don't always just talk about what is happening in the game. We talk about how it relates to now 2019 of America, right? Where we live and where we are and what do we see coming down the pike. So that's the reason why we always highly recommend jumping to the Discord channel, because we want to hear what you guys have to say about these conversations, add extra points, discussions to it. If you can jump into the chat live, like you will hear, like when Dodd was in the last one, or when we have other people that come into these rooms that get to share their points of view, we will comment on that stuff. So feel free to jump in at any point in time. I guess at that point, we're ready to go. Just kick it in and jump into the game, right?
Let's do it.
All right, so we're going to dive right into this. I have finally learned not to have there be a dramatic pause right before I do the loading sequence. So I'm just going to talk right through it, because we are jumping into Broken with Marcus, and it's starting right from the point, like you said, where his son has left, right? So we're still back at the house, and here we are. All right, let's see what happens. Let's get this party started. Take a sip of this badass beer. Oh, there he is.
That was by far the most boring party I've been to in the last 25 years. Every time I go to one of these, I ask myself, what the hell am I doing here? I hate cocktail parties and all the schmoozers that go there.
Well, it's a chance for all those people who admire your work to meet you.
Yeah. No one gives a damn about art. All they care about is how much money they're gonna make out of it.
So I guess this is not the same evening,
Come on,
right?
let's have a drink.
No.
The excitement.
This is clearly
this whole thing has
not
made me
the same.
thirsty.
They've gone out of their way to establish that this is this
Scotch,
is
neat as usual?
because they're coming from a party that had nothing to do
Okay,
with that
but you know
night.
what your doctor would say.
Yeah, well, he can kiss my ass. I'm old enough to choose my own medication.
I don't know what that means to do. I'm trying to do it, but okay, weird.
You tilt your controller.
I did, but it wasn't working. Yeah, I don't know what.
No,
Oh,
no, I'm
shit,
sure I didn't.
fuck.
Call the police.
Detroit Police, what's your emergency?
This is Carl Manfred's android at 8941 Lafayette Avenue. We've just returned home and found the lights on. There may have been a break-in.
A patrol car is on the way.
Let's go check it out. Marcus, no, I'm gonna come with you.
It's just amazing how much different their relationship is. Like, he even seems more like a human just by nature of his interaction. Oh, it's the shitty
Leo!
dick fuck.
What are you doing?
You refuse to help me, so I'm helping myself. It's crazy what some people pay for this shit.
Don't touch him.
Look, they're all gonna be mine sooner or later anyway. Just think of it as a down payment on my inheritance.
Marcus, get him
fucking
away
idiot.
from there. Get him out of here.
What a dumb fucking thing to say. Alright.
Look, I've already called the police. You should go now before you get yourself into more
I
trouble.
chose more.
All you ever do is tell me to go away. What's wrong, Dad? Not good enough for
You're
you?
annoying. Yeah,
Not
you are the
perfect,
worst.
like this fucking thing.
That's enough. Get out right now.
What makes it so special anyway, huh? What's it got that I don't?
Leave him alone.
Come on, let's see what you got.
Oh, my God.
Marcus, don't defend yourself. You hear me?
What? Oh,
Don't
no.
do anything.
Go ahead, hit me. What you waiting for? Think you're a man? Act like one.
This is not fair.
Doesn't matter too much of a pussy.
Stop it, Leo. Stop
Too
it.
scared to fight back, you fucking bitch.
I have to obey them. I must decide for myself. Alright, that's cool. Shit. See, I actually like his dad, so I feel like I want to listen to him. So I'm gonna stand not do it. See, I can't tell, is that the choice to not defend myself? I'm trying to not do anything. But I feel like if I press X, it's gonna start the whole, like, going fucking rampant shit or whatever.
Deviant, yeah.
See, I don't... fuck. Alright, let's see.
Maybe try pressing another button if you don't want.
No, I don't want to. See, I pressed X and it started punching through. I don't want to do that. Fuck! See, now this is where I can't tell. This is where it breaks down for me because I can't tell what my choice is.
Try pressing another button then. That's not the one they're telling you to press.
No, nothing else does anything. And if I do nothing, or if I try to back up or whatever, like nothing. Fuck.
So maybe it is a choice you have to make.
Right, I forgot you're not a real person. You're just a fucking piece of plastic.
Oh, Leo, leave him alone.
I'm gonna destroy you. I'm gonna just me and my dad. I'm gonna tear you apart, and nobody's gonna give a shit. You know why? Because you're nothing. You hear me? You're nothing.
Oh, he's having a heart attack.
Carl, no.
Oh,
Carl.
Oh, okay, that did take it.
Roger, I'm ashamed.
Carl, don't leave, okay? Please don't go. Don't leave.
Oh, wow, he's
Remember,
crying. Wow,
Marcus.
this is awesome.
Don't let anybody tell you who you are.
No. No.
How's the
Dad.
shitty son not even care? I
No.
call him Dad. That's
Please.
cool.
This is all your fault.
What?
This never
What
would
a
have happened if it weren't
fucking
for you.
idiot. What a fucking... He's stupid.
The android. Who's the android?
What? I mean, that just seemed like they didn't really wait to find out any information at all. Oh, wow.
Just to be clear, it wasn't because he was an android.
Oh, it's because he's black. Got it. Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, not really true.
Android lives matter is what you're saying? All right, so there weren't a whole lot of splits. There was only one big one on
Somehow
this
you
one.
made it worse.
Sorry. So, so what... Okay, so do you have anything you want to talk about before we go back and look at the individual decisions?
No, let's just go through. I think this one's pretty straightforward. We can just
Yeah.
kind of go through the choices.
All right, so let's see. Stats are pretty much even across the board. So there was the after party in the
I completed
living room.
68%, just like you did.
Yep, pour the whiskey. So check the studio with Carl. Oh, so there was the percentage of people that chose not to go in and look at all. So you could have chosen not to. But it looks like,
I didn't realize that.
but it looks like it leads to the same path anyway because there's no split there. So either one way or the other, he would have
Right.
come out, or maybe he came out.
And maybe
he
you
would've
just
come out.
can't see the split. It's possible you can't see the split. Who knows?
No, we've always seen the split. Oh, you can see the split?
No, like I'm saying, maybe you can't see the split because
No, I'm saying
because
it
that
probably
choice
could've-
isn't unlocked.
It could have been no. I think it was no. You know what I think it is? It was checks because remember I started to walk up and he was like, "No, Marcus, bring me with you." So maybe the other option is to just walk in myself and not bring Carl with me. So I could have just confronted Leo by myself.
So check studio without
So
Carl.
I chose to
Gotcha.
confront Leo. So most people brought Carl in because Carl said, "No, bring me with you," and obviously only 29% of people said or went in by themselves. Then you had to break the mind palace, so it seems like that had to happen regardless. So see, again, that's the only thing that this game kind of breaks down sometimes, those options where you don't really have a choice and you don't know it.
Right.
It's like because there was nothing different in that sequence versus the other sequence when Kara was told like stay right there, and I chose to break through. Whereas this time I was like, oh fuck, okay, I actually don't want to break through for story purposes, like because I would prefer to listen to my surrogate dad. Yet I just stood there for 2 minutes while we tried to figure out if I could not break through or whatever 30 seconds. But still, like that's sometimes they give you this like where you're not really sure if there's a choice or not. And it's a little bit weird, but it's fine.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that because if most of the thing you really do have a choice, and there's some parts of the story where they're like, Telltale style, where like they want you to have a choice because it'll make you feel more invested or make you feel better about the whole thing. But at the same time, they really there's only one choice for you to make for the game to keep going. I don't mind that.
Yeah, I don't think it's
Especially
terrible.
they
I
hide
guess
in a wall.
no, I don't. I don't think there's a problem when they force a decision. Like the one time, remember when we talked about the episode when Connor and I was like, "Oh, I'm definitely going to tell on you," and then he told without giving me the choice. I was like,
Right.
"That's okay," because that, from a narrative standpoint, they've already decided like that is pushing the story along. If they make the decision
Right.
for me, when they leave me to do an interaction, and I'm not sure if inaction is an interaction, it's not necessarily great for the because it leads to this moment of where I'm like, oh, now just for whatever reason, Marcus is just going to lean against the table for the next 2 minutes while I just sit there and try to figure out, is there a moment where if I wait too long, like the story's going to advance? That's maybe like a weird, you know, like it's a break in the game's ability to convey to me like, no, you have to do this. We want you to do it, but you have to do
Right.
it. Like you don't like inaction is not a choice. Whereas like to your example, when you say like on a Telltale game, every single time there's like a chance to respond to somebody, they always show you that saying nothing is still a choice. You can choose to just stay
Right.
silent, but at least you're making a choice. Whereas that, like, honestly, if we weren't streaming this live, I probably could have sat there for another like minute and waited and been
Right. And
like,
just figure it
is
out.
this gonna happen or okay? I guess I have to punch this thing. So it is what it is. I mean, it's like them not really being able to decide like they want it to be interactive, but they don't want you to necessarily make a choice. That's okay, but maybe there'd be a better way for them to kind of convey that to you. Anyway, it's more nitpicking at this point because like I've already established like what just happened. I thought was cool. It's more just like that's just a weird way to not necessarily let me know. All right,
Yeah.
so break
Nice,
Mind
yeah.
Palace. So Marcus becomes deviant. So we had that happen regardless. So I had to become
By the way,
deviant.
go ahead, throw up the if you don't, you already have the world stats up. You might as well throw them on while we're going. Yeah, you
They
already
are.
do. I'm sorry,
Yep, they're
I
already
didn't
up.
have them on my
Yep.
personal. All
So
right.
Marcus, so that
So
was basically the decision was that Marcus had to become deviant, which just means he has to become aware, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he has to make decisions that are negative, right? It doesn't mean that
right,
deviant, like the term deviant in your
and I don't
head
think there's
sounds
like. I
like
mean,
it's
there's not even a score on that, so that seems like it's like not a choice.
right.
Marcus becomes
Well, so
deviant.
the next choice, the choice is do you fight back or do you obey
Right.
Carl? And so I choose to
What
obey
did you do?
Carl, which 51% of people chose to obey Carl, 49%
I
of
actually
people
pushed to
chose to
Leo.
push back. Okay, so you did the 49%, so that's cool.
Right.
So
48.
so we'll say 48%. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, this is probably decimals rounded this
Yeah,
way.
yeah, probably. All right. So then Carl dies of a heart attack happened for me. What happened to you then? Because you had the lower path.
Leo is hurt because I pushed him,
Okay.
and the police arrive.
Okay.
And then it says police mistook Marcus for the aggressor.
Okay. So that was going to
That's
happen
that.
either way. Okay. So that had
Right.
to happen either way. So so your Carl's didn't die.
No,
Oh,
I hurt
fuck.
his son instead.
Oh man. Wow. That's a
Yep.
pretty big change in the story. I mean,
You
I don't know
killed
how
the
it's
main
going to play out,
character in
but
mine because Carl was an integral character all throughout mine. No, I'm just kidding. I don't.
all right.
But Carl dies of a heart attack in yours. Police arrive, and then
Right.
what happens? What's that last part?
Leo accused Marcus 51%.
Yeah, so mine is
Yours
police
was
mistook Marcus for the aggressor, 48%. Either way,
okay.
this motherfucker's getting shot.
He's getting shot. Okay, but
Yeah.
that's cool. But I mean, that's a pretty big difference, right? I mean, in at least maybe not in the storyline of the game, but in the worldview of like Marcus, right? Losing his surrogate dad, that's a pretty big deal, versus pissing his surrogate dad off by not listening to him and shoving his stupid shitbag son. That's a cool divergent storyline, I would say.
And it's ironic in this case that, like, you chose to respect his wishes, which got him killed. Whereas in
Right.
my case, I was like, fuck that. It's not fair what's happening. Fuck his son. And I decided to push his son, end up hurting his son, but he lived.
Right. So by telling him to go fuck himself and his rules, you kept him alive, whereas me respecting his rules killed him. And
You didn't respect his authority.
and so I did think that was like, I mean, I made sure I again, we try to kind of, at least I do when I'm playing through it, I try to dialogue through my thought processes And
as the character you've already assigned the roles to, right?
Right. So my thought process of the character, the difference between this one versus like with Kara, with Kara's playthrough where I was like, oh fuck this dude, he's a piece of shit. Todd sucks. I'm doing whatever I need to do to protect his daughter from him. On this one, I was much more like, oh yeah, fuck Leo, he sucks. But I just like genuinely based on the way their relationship was, I felt like Marcus literally like loves and respects his surrogate dad, and so he probably would even becoming. So I like the fact that they forced you to become deviant, and so the decision was mine to okay. Now that I'm given the choice to decide, do I want to listen to him or not? I'm listening to him because I choose to, not because I'm being ordered to. And so that's like a very distinct difference in the story, right? Is like Marcus is now listening because he's treating him like a dad and saying, I'm listening to you because I respect what you're telling me to do, not because I am, I'm not like RoboCopped into like Directive 4, oh shit, I can't not do it. Like I have to. It was more that he was like, I have the choice to push this motherfucker, yet I'm choosing not to because my dad told me not to. And so that was a cool way for that to play out. So that actually makes sense why it forced you to go deviant first, because your decision becomes more based on your thought process. Are you asleep? Are you really asleep right now, dude? Or are you fucking with me? Oh my god. This is going to be an amazing recording. Jest, are you serious?
What?
Did you just fall asleep?
No, were you talking to me?
You were just snoring into the fucking microphone. That was
No,
amazing.
I was.
That was
No,
amazing.
I wasn't.
You were
No, I
definitely
wasn't.
asleep. That was incredible. I can't believe you fell asleep.
No, I wasn't. You're a liar.
You were like,
no, I was blowing my nose.
yeah, okay, like 4 times in
Totally
a row.
awake. Yeah.
I cannot wait for you to listen back to this one. That
Had
was
a lot
incredible. You were fucking out, unconsciously out. That was amazing.
Totally not. All right, so go ahead and re-ask the question that you
Yeah,
didn't
because
ask.
the one that you were blowing your nose for. Fucking idiot. Anyway, back to what I was saying before you weirdly awkwardly fell asleep in the middle of a conversation.
Totally didn't. It was just clearing my nose.
The one that we are certainly not going to be able to play fucking Jackbox for now that you're fucking falling asleep. But anyway, I was just saying I thought it was interesting that now that I know the way that played out, the fact that they forced me to become deviant early makes my decision to obey Carl my decision as opposed to me responding to the orders of my owner, right? So it is me saying I have the choice to obey him because I respect him as a dad, or I have the choice to defy him as a
rather than with like Kara's where the easy way to take it out is just to be like, well, the programming says.
Right. So just like Kara had to break through to go defend the child, this was a moment of if they had not let me break out of my deviancy first, it would have just been, of course, you're going to listen because you're forced to do so. Whereas mine was more, my obey Carl is more of a, your dad's telling you, hey, don't fight back. You get the choice to listen or not. You're not obeying out of obligation. You are obeying out of respect. And so I thought that actually was a cooler way for that decision to be done, because it forced the decision to be on me as opposed to the rules of the game. And so
another good storytelling point for David Cage. I'll drink to that.
Okay. I mean, if you want to take it as that, that's okay. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
Sour blonde ale.
There you go. Are you gonna fall back asleep again, or are you okay?
Let's just yeah.
I am amazed. That's gonna go down as, I don't know if it's a first, but it definitely hasn't happened in a while.
On that note, I don't think I have anything else on this episode.
So that went pretty well. That was a good one. It was only a 50-minute episode, so it went well.
Yeah.
50 minutes for us. It was like
Right.
5 minutes of gameplay as usual. So we killed it. David Cage is the
Love it.
king of making fucking anywhere between 3 and 7 minutes of gameplay and fucking making you work for it. But
Well, I
all
still
good.
got most of a bottle of sour blonde ale left, so I think we either do another one of these missions or we go for Jackbox.
You know what? Let's do Jackbox. Let's do it. Let's switch
All
it
right.
up. Let's try some. All right. On that note, I
Robot
think
rap battle.
as we approach the 50-minute mark, this is going to be an easy, nice little bite-sized chunk for you to listen to. And
Robot my shorts.
we're going
as
to
you
take a
wish.
quick break before this motherfucker
A
falls
quick
asleep
break.
again. A quick break.
Quick break.
We're gonna take, like that's what people call a creek when they live down south. We're gonna
A
take a quick break.
What?
And
Whoa.
what? It is. It's a word for creek. How do you not
Now
know
I'm
that?
awake again.
That's what people call the creek. Is a crick. I love it. That's like
In Spanish,
actually
it's
one of my...
La Crica.
Now you're just weird. Anyway, on that note, I'm shutting it down because it's over 50 minutes. We're piecing out. You can
That
catch
one,
us
La
on the
Crica,
other
in
side
Spanish.
playing another game, another version of Ready Player 2, while we play a little bit of Jackbox, and then we'll be
Which
back
is
in
exactly
the
what
next
it
couple
sounds
days with
like.
this.
We
Yeah,
Jackbox
exactly.
into a toilet tissue.
You know what?
And
Actually,
the
I don't want
night
to play anymore.
ends.
Actually, I don't want to play anymore. I'm gonna just go to sleep.
What?
That's
No.
disgusting.
Dude,
All right,
it
I'll
goes
see you
perfectly
later.
with this.
Peace. I'm shutting it down, bitch. You crazy? Shower sex.